Here is the original famous Fort Worth 5. Alright, this photograph is probably the most well-known.
In the heart of the Wild West, where the rhythm of horses' hooves echoed against rugged mountains and vast plains, a unique chapter of American history unfolded. A time when fortunes were won and lost in the blink of an eye, and legends were forged in the fires of ambition and adversity. Join us as we journey back in time and show you rare and forgotten photos of the Wild West. The Table Bluff Hotel. The Table Bluff Hotel and Saloon, a quintessential frontier establishment in Humboldt County, California, provided respite for weary travelers and local patrons in the rugged American Old West. This 1889 photograph offers a rare glimpse into the saloon's interior, where patrons gathered to drink, gamble, and socialize. Originally built in 1852 by Van German, the hotel and saloon were later owned and operated by Seth Kinman, a renowned hunter and frontiersman known for his eccentric personality and exceptional marksmanship. Kinman even crafted unique chairs for the hotel, adding a personal touch to the establishment. The Presidential Gift. Seth Kinman was renowned for his unique craftsmanship, particularly his one-of-a-kind furniture pieces, fashioned from the spoils of his hunting expeditions. His iconic elkhorn chairs, meticulously crafted from interlocking antlers, became his most celebrated creations. Kinman's creations garnered the attention of prominent figures, including Presidents James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, and Rutherford B. Hayes. Each received a personalized chair handcrafted by Kinman, constructed from various antlers, horns, hides, and other materials sourced from the wild game he hunted. President Buchanan was reportedly so delighted with his elk antler chair that he gifted Kinman a rifle and 2 pistols in return. This photograph of President Hayes seated in the elkhorn chair Kinman presented to him has become an iconic image, symbolizing the unconventional spirit of the American West. Geronimo. The Apache leader's fierce resistance. Geronimo, born Goya Awe, was a prominent Apache leader and medicine man who led a fierce resistance against Mexican and American forces in the late 19th century. Geronimo's life was marked by tragedy, with the loss of his family at the hands of Mexican soldiers fueling his determination to protect his people and their way of life. Geronimo's tactical brilliance and bravery in battle made him a formidable adversary. He and his followers evaded capture for years, using their intimate knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the U.S. Army. In 1836, after a prolonged pursuit, Geronimo finally surrendered to U.S. authorities. He spent the last 2 decades of his life as a prisoner of war, becoming a symbol of Native American resistance and resilience in the face of colonization. Fort Worth 5 photo. In the annals of American Old West history, few images are as iconic and captivating as the Fort Worth 5 photograph. This remarkable portrait, taken in 1900, features 5 of the most notorious outlaws of the era: Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, Will Carver, Ben Kilpatrick, and Harvey Logan, also known as Kid Curry. The men, all members of the infamous Wild Bunch Gang, posed for the camera in Fort Worth, Texas, exuding an air of confidence and defiance that would become their hallmark. Dressed in their finest attire, with their hands resting on their pistols, they seemed to challenge the very notion of law and order in the untamed West. Little did they know that this single photograph would ultimately lead to their downfall. Displayed in the window of the photographer's studio, the image caught the eye of a passing lawman who recognized the wanted men. The Pinkerton Detective Agency soon obtained copies of the photograph and distributed them far and wide, transforming the Wild Bunch from local outlaws to nationally hunted fugitives. Tex Madson, the tallest cowboy in the West. In the rough-and-tumble world of the American Old West, where larger-than-life characters were the norm, Tex Madson stood head and shoulders above the rest, quite literally. Standing an impressive 7 feet 6 inches tall, Madson was known far and wide as the tallest cowboy in the West, a distinction that made him an instant celebrity wherever he went. Born Robert Madson in Texas in the late 19th century, Tex quickly gained a reputation for his exceptional height and his equally impressive skills as a cowboy. He could ride, rope, and wrangle with the best of them, his long legs and powerful frame making him a force to be reckoned with on the open range. But it was Madson's height that truly set him apart. In an era when the average man stood just 5 feet 6 inches tall, Madson was a towering figure, his presence commanding attention and respect wherever he went. He became a fixture at rodeos and county fairs, his height and his prowess as a cowboy drawing crowds from far and wide. The ingenious dwellings of the Great Plains. For the Sioux Nation, one of the largest and most powerful Native American tribes of the Great Plains, the tepee was more than just a shelter. It was a vital part of their nomadic way of life. These ingenious dwellings were designed to withstand the harsh extremes of the region, providing comfort and protection from the scorching summer heat and the biting winter cold. Constructed from long wooden poles and covered in buffalo hides, the tepees were remarkably adaptable to the Sioux's needs. The conical shape allowed for efficient heat distribution during the winter months, while the adjustable smoke flaps at the top could be opened to ventilate the interior during the summer. The portability of the tepee was equally important, as the Sioux needed to follow the migratory patterns of the buffalo, their primary source of food and materials. A rare photograph from the late 19th century offers a glimpse into the world of the Sioux, with dozens of tepees dotting the landscape. The image captures not only the practicality of these dwellings, but also the sense of community and tradition that they represent. Bass Reeves, the legendary deputy marshal. Bass Reeves, born into slavery in 1838, became a symbol of justice in the American West. After gaining his freedom, Reeves was appointed as the first deputy U.S. Marshal of African descent west of the Mississippi River in 1875. His exceptional marksmanship, detective skills, and unwavering dedication to the law made him a formidable force on the frontier. During his 32-year career, Reeves brought over 3,000 felons to justice and killed 14 outlaws in self-defense. His reputation for fairness and integrity earned him the respect of both lawmen and the communities he served. Billy the Kid, the outlaw and his mysterious photo. Billy the Kid, born Henry McCarty, was one of the most notorious outlaws of the American Old West. His life of crime and daring escapes made him a legend, but few photographs of the infamous gunslinger were known to exist. In 2011, a collector stumbled upon a rare photo at a flea market depicting Billy the Kid and his gang playing croquet. Purchased for a mere $2, the 4x5-inch tintype was later authenticated and valued at $5 million, making it one of the most expensive photographs ever sold. This remarkable discovery added a new chapter to the enduring legend of Billy the Kid. The Rufus Buck Gang. In the waning years of the 19th century, the American Old West was a land of opportunity and danger, a place where the line between lawlessness and order was often blurred. It was in this world that the Rufus Buck Gang, a notorious band of outlaws, rose to infamy, their brutal crimes and audacious exploits striking fear into the hearts of settlers across the Oklahoma and Arkansas territories. Led by Rufus Buck, a young man of African American and Creek Indian descent, the gang consisted of a motley crew of misfits and outcasts, bound together by a shared disdain for authority and a thirst for violence. Over the course of their brief but bloody reign, the gang committed a string of robberies, assaults, and murders, their savagery and brutality earning them a reputation as some of the most feared outlaws in the West. The gang's most notorious crime occurred on July 30th, 1895, when they attacked a group of U.S. deputy marshals near Muskogee, Oklahoma. In the ensuing gunfight, the gang killed 2 of the lawmen and wounded several others before fleeing into the wilderness. The brazen attack sent shockwaves through the territories, and a massive manhunt was launched to bring the gang to justice. For weeks, the Rufus Buck Gang eluded capture. Their knowledge of the land and their sheer audacity allowed them to stay one step ahead of the law. But their luck could not hold out forever. In August of 1895, a posse of U.S. Marshals and Indian police finally caught up with the gang, and in a fierce shootout, all 5 members were captured. The trial of the Rufus Buck Gang was swift and merciless, with all 5 men being sentenced to death by hanging judge Isaac Parker. On July 1st, 1896, the gang was led to the gallows in Fort Smith, Arkansas, their executions marking the end of one of the bloodiest chapters in the history of the American Old West, Deadwood's Main Street. In the heart of the Black Hills of South Dakota lies the town of Deadwood, a place steeped in the lore and legend of the American Old West. And at the center of it all, pulsing with the energy and the excitement of a new era, was Main Street, the beating heart of the Black Hills gold rush. It was here, in the summer of 1876, that the first prospectors arrived, drawn by the promise of untold riches hidden deep within the earth. They came from all walks of life, miners and merchants, gamblers and gunslingers, dreamers and drifters, all seeking their fortune in the wild and untamed hills of the Dakotas. As the town grew, so too did Main Street, its rough-hewn buildings and ramshackle storefronts giving way to grand hotels, elegant salons, and bustling mercantile. It was a place of boundless energy and infinite possibility, where fortunes could be made and lost in the blink of an eye, and where the American dream seemed within reach of anyone bold enough to seize it. A photograph from the era captures the essence of Main Street in all its chaotic glory, a bustling thoroughfare lined with horse-drawn carriages and crowded with people. In the background, the Black Hills loom, a silent witness to the drama and the dreams unfolding in the streets below. Bloody Bill Anderson, the ruthless Confederate guerrilla. William T. Anderson, infamously known as Bloody Bill, was a pro-Confederate guerrilla leader during the American Civil War. Driven by revenge after Union soldiers killed his father, Anderson unleashed a reign of terror across Missouri and Kansas. Known for his brutality and tactical skills, Anderson led his band of guerrillas in numerous raids and ambushes, often leaving no survivors. His actions earned him a reputation as one of the most feared and ruthless fighters of the Civil War era. Anderson's notorious career came to an end in 1864 when he lost his life in a Union ambush at the age of 24. This tintype photograph of him was taken shortly after his passing on October 27, 1864 in Richmond, Missouri. Dance halls, from modest gatherings to wild nights. Dance halls played a significant role in the social life of the American frontier. In the early days of the California Gold Rush, miners found solace and companionship in simple dance halls held in tents. This image, captured in Seattle, Washington in 1909, shows women gathering outside the Klondike Dance Hall and Saloon, underscoring the enduring popularity of these social hubs. As the West developed, dance halls transformed into more elaborate venues. Initially respected for their skills, dance girls gradually became associated with vice and violence. Notorious dance halls like the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona, were infamous for their boisterous atmosphere, gambling, and occasional gunfights. These rowdy establishments came to symbolize the wild and untamed spirit of the American West. Ned Christie, the wrongly accused Cherokee statesman. Ned Christie, a respected Cherokee statesman, found himself at the center of a tragic miscarriage of justice in the late 19th century. In 1887, Christie was falsely accused of murdering a U.S. Marshal. Despite his innocence, he was forced to become a fugitive, sparking a fierce conflict known as Ned Christie's War. For 5 years, Christie evaded capture, hiding out in the hills of Oklahoma. In 1892, a posse of U.S. Marshals launched a final assault on Christie's stronghold, killing him in the process. It wasn't until 1918 that a witness came forward and cleared Christie's name, revealing the true identity of the Marshal's killer. Laura Bullion, Rose of the Wild Bunch. Laura Bullion, born in 1876, was a prominent female outlaw in the American West. Known as the Rose of the Wild Bunch, Bullion was associated with notorious gangs, including Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch. Her romantic involvement with outlaw Ben Kilpatrick drew her into a life of crime. Bullion's outlaw career came to an end in 1901 when she was arrested for robbery. After serving a 3-year prison sentence, she reformed her life and became a seamstress. Bullion later moved to Memphis, Tennessee, where she lived under an assumed name and ran a respectable business until her death in 1961. Apache spirit dancers. In the sacred traditions of the Apache people, the spirit dancers held a revered and vital role. These enigmatic figures, adorned in elaborate costumes and mesmerizing masks, were more than just performers. They were healers, storytellers, and conduits between the physical and spiritual worlds. An evocative photograph from the late 19th century captures the essence of the Apache spirit dancers, their faces obscured by intricately crafted headdresses, and their bodies draped in ceremonial regalia. Each costume was a work of art, imbued with deep symbolism, and imbued with the power to channel the spirits of the natural world. Through their mesmerizing dances and haunting chants, the spirit dancers sought to restore balance and harmony to their communities. They performed ancient rituals, passed down through generations, to heal the sick, drive out evil spirits, and ensure the well-being of their people. The rhythmic pounding of their feet and the hypnotic sway of their bodies were said to transport participants to a realm beyond the veil of everyday existence. Beaumont Hotel, Wild West luxury. Nestled in the heart of the San Juan Mountains in Ouray, Colorado, the Beaumont Hotel stood as a beacon of luxury and refinement in the untamed wilderness of the American West. Built between 1886 and 1887, this grand 3-story brick structure boasted a distinctive Victorian style, complete with an elegant corner tower and intricate detailing. In an era when most frontier accommodations were rough and rudimentary, the Beaumont Hotel offered its guests a taste of the finer things in life. Each of its 48 rooms was appointed with the latest amenities, including hot and cold running water, steam heat, and even electric lighting, a true rarity in the small mining towns of the late 19th century. Annie Oakley, American sharpshooter and icon. In the pantheon of American Old West legends, few names shine as brightly as Annie Oakley's. Born Phoebe Ann Mosey in 1860, Oakley rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most famous and celebrated women of her time. Her unparalleled skill with a rifle and her indomitable spirit making her an icon of the American frontier. Oakley's journey to fame began in her teenage years when she began to hone her skills as a sharpshooter, hunting game to help support her family. Her talent quickly gained notice, and in 1875, she met her future husband, Frank Butler, in a shooting match. The two married soon after, and together they began to tour the country, performing as a sharpshooting duo in circuses and Wild West shows. But it was Oakley's tenure with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show that truly catapulted her to international stardom. Joining the show in 1885, Oakley quickly became one of its most popular attractions, her incredible feats of marksmanship and her charming personality winning her legions of fans around the world. Molly Johnson, Deadwood's fair madam. In the rough and tumble world of Deadwood, South Dakota, during the height of the Black Hills Gold Rush, one woman stood out among the rest: Molly Johnson. A savvy businesswoman with a heart of gold, Johnson made her mark on the frontier town by running one of the most successful brothels in the area. Born in the mid-19th century, Johnson arrived in Deadwood in 1876, just as the gold rush was reaching its peak. She quickly recognized the demand for female companionship in the predominantly male town and established her brothel, which soon became known for its high-quality service and fair treatment of the working girls. Johnson was more than just a madam. She was a respected member of the community, known for her generosity and her unwavering commitment to the well-being of her employees. She provided her girls with a safe and comfortable place to work and live and fiercely defended them against any mistreatment or abuse. The gunslinger dentist, John Henry Doc Holliday, a name synonymous with the wild and lawless days of the American frontier, was a man of many talents and contradictions. Born in Georgia in 1851, Holliday initially pursued a career in dentistry, earning his degree from the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery in 1872. However, fate had other plans for the young dentist. Shortly after beginning his practice, Holliday was diagnosed with tuberculosis, a deadly disease that claimed the lives of countless Americans in the 19th century. Seeking a drier climate to help alleviate his symptoms, Holliday set out for the American West, where he hoped to find a new lease on life. It was in the saloons and gambling halls of the frontier that Holliday discovered his true calling. A skilled card player with a quick wit and a steady hand, he soon gained a reputation as a formidable opponent at the poker table. His prowess with a gun was equally impressive, and he became known as one of the deadliest shootists in the West. Holliday's life took a fateful turn when he crossed paths with Wyatt Earp, the legendary lawman who would become his closest friend and ally. Together, the two men navigated the treacherous waters of the frontier, from the bustling streets of Dodge City to the dusty streets of Tombstone, Arizona. It was in Tombstone that Holliday would carve his name into the annals of American history. On October 26, 1881, he stood alongside Wyatt and his brothers at the OK Corral, facing off against a gang of ruthless outlaws in one of the most famous gunfights of the Old West. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, Holliday and the Earps emerged victorious, cementing their place in the pantheon of frontier legends. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick: the true images of the Wild West that were banned from history. Some images, like that of Dr. Louis Assayer's groundbreaking orthopedic procedure, challenge our perceptions of medical practices in the 19th century. This photograph showcases Sayer suspending a patient by their arms to correct spinal curvatures, a seemingly unconventional yet innovative approach for the time. However, the Wild West also had a darker side, as evidenced by this haunting image of a fallen figure surrounded by gunslingers. The fate of the individual in the photograph remains unknown, leaving us to contemplate the human cost of conflicts and the fragility of life during that era. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments. Jesse James, Confederate soldier to America's Most Wanted. Born in Missouri in 1874, Jesse Woodson James and his older brother Frank grew up in a family with strong Confederate sympathies. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, the James brothers joined a group of pro-Confederate guerrillas known for their ruthless tactics and alleged atrocities against Union soldiers and sympathizers. After the war, Jesse and Frank found themselves adrift in a changed world, their way of life upended by the Union victory and the economic upheaval that followed. Embittered and disillusioned, they turned to a life of crime, forming the notorious James Younger Gang and embarking on a string of daring robberies and holdups that would make them the most famous outlaws of their time. For over a decade, the James brothers and their associates terrorized the banks, trains, and stagecoaches of the Midwest, their exploits capturing the public imagination and earning them a reputation as modern-day Robin Hoods. Though their crimes were often brutal and their methods ruthless, many Americans saw them as heroes, striking a blow against the corrupt banks and railroads that had come to dominate the post-war economy. Despite their popularity, the James brothers were relentlessly pursued by law enforcement, their every move dogged by Pinkerton detectives and local posses. In 1876, their luck finally ran out when a failed bank robbery in Northfield, Minnesota, left several gang members dead or captured and forced Jesse and Frank to go into hiding. Davy Crockett, King of Frontier. Davy Crockett, the legendary frontiersman, soldier, and politician, embodied the spirit of the American West. Born in 1786 in eastern Tennessee, Crockett's early life was marked by adventure and hardship. He gained a reputation as a skilled hunter and storyteller, with his tall tales and exploits becoming the stuff of frontier lore. Crockett's military career began in 1813 when he served in the Creek War, earning recognition for his bravery and leadership. He later parlayed his military success into a political career, serving as a member of the Tennessee State Legislature and the United States House of Representatives. However, it was Crockett's reputation as a frontiersman that truly cemented his place in American history. Known as the King of the Wild Frontier, he became renowned for his hunting prowess and his ability to survive in the untamed wilderness. His larger-than-life persona and colorful stories made him a popular figure in the public imagination. In 1835, Crockett's life took a fateful turn when he joined the Texas Revolution, a conflict between American settlers and the Mexican government. He and a small group of volunteers made their way to the Alamo, a fortified mission in San Antonio, where they faced a massive Mexican army led by General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. Despite being vastly outnumbered, Crockett and his fellow defenders held their ground for 13 days, ultimately sacrificing their lives in the name of Texas independence. Wild Bill Hickok. James Butler Hickok, better known as Wild Bill, was one of the most famous gunslingers of the American Old West. Born in Illinois in 1837, Hickok's early life was marked by a series of adventures and close calls. He earned a reputation as a skilled marksman and a fearless fighter during his time as a scout and spy for the Union Army during the Civil War. After the war, Hickok made his way west, working as a stagecoach driver, lawman, and gambler. His reputation as a deadly gunslinger grew with each passing year, fueled by his quick draw and his uncanny ability to emerge unscathed from even the most dangerous situations. One of Hickok's most famous encounters occurred in 1865 in Springfield, Missouri, when he faced off against a gambler named Davis Tutt in a classic quick-draw duel. Hickok emerged victorious, solidifying his status as one of the deadliest gunfighters in the West. Calamity Jane, the unconventional frontierswoman. Born Martha Jane Canary in 1852, Calamity Jane was a woman who defied the conventions of her time and became one of the most legendary figures of the American West. From a young age, Jane was drawn to the wild and untamed frontier, where she learned to ride, shoot, and survive in a world that was often hostile to women. In the 1870s, Jane made her way to the Black Hills of South Dakota, where she quickly earned a reputation as a skilled scout, hunter, and storyteller. She worked as a military scout during the Indian Wars, guiding troops through the rugged terrain and earning the respect of even the toughest soldiers. But it was in the rough-and-tumble mining camps and cow towns of the frontier that Calamity Jane truly made her mark. With her quick wit, her fearless demeanor, and her penchant for hard living, she became a fixture of the saloons and dance halls, captivating audiences with her tales of adventure and her legendary exploits. Despite her rough exterior, Jane was known for her kind heart and her fierce loyalty to her friends. She was particularly close to Wild Bill Hickok, the famous gunslinger and lawman, and was devastated by his untimely death in Deadwood in 1876. In the years that followed, Jane's life took a darker turn, as she struggled with alcoholism and depression. But even in her darkest moments, she never lost the spark of adventure and the love of life that had made her a legend of the frontier. Wyatt Earp, the frontier lawman. Wyatt Earp, a name that has become synonymous with the taming of the American West, was a man whose life was as complex and multifaceted as the era in which he lived. Born in Illinois in 1848, Earp's early years were marked by a series of adventures and misadventures, from working as a teamster and buffalo hunter to running a brothel and saloon in the rough-and-tumble cowtowns of Kansas. But it was as a lawman that Earp truly made his mark on the frontier. In the 1870s and 80s, he served as a deputy marshal in some of the most notorious and violence-plagued towns of the Old West, including Wichita, Dodge City, and Tombstone. In each of these places, Earp earned a reputation as a fearless and incorruptible enforcer of the law, a man who would stop at nothing to bring order to the chaos of the frontier. Earp's most famous moment came on October 26, 1881, when he and his brothers, along with his friend Doc Holliday, faced off against a gang of outlaws known as the Cowboys in the legendary gunfight at the Oakley Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. In a matter of seconds, 3 cowboys lay dead, and Earp and his allies were hailed as heroes by the citizens of the town. But the Oakley Corral was only the beginning of Earp's troubles in Tombstone. In the months that followed, he and his brothers were targeted by vengeful cowboys and corrupt politicians alike, culminating in a series of assassinations and retaliatory killings that left the town reeling. Earp himself was forced to flee Arizona, his reputation as a lawman forever tarnished by the violence and controversy that followed in his wake. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.